Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Listen Here. Listen Here is a YouTube channel that hopes to explore pretty much everything about hearing, from hearing issues through to the tech. My name's Nick and I'm joined by our resident expert audiologist, Dr. Guoping Li. And today we're going to be looking at hearing loss in young adults. Now this is something which is getting worse for a lot of obvious reasons, isn't it, Ping?
Yes, indeed. With access to the mobile phones and computer games, parties, young people definitely have lots of opportunity to expose to very loud noise.
I mean, the tech we see these days has changed amazingly. I mean, my car stereo is far bassier and louder than anything I had growing up or my folks had. The headphones are far more immersive. You go on a long haul flight and you're listening at high volumes for long periods of time. You go to a 3D show at the IMAX cinema and my goodness me, the sound goes through your entire body, doesn't it? Now surely, and then we could go on to festivals and nightclubs, everything's louder. Digital music is obviously there's a lot more of it. We have streaming services, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So what can people do to avoid this ever-growing risk?
Well, I think a lot of people are starting to realize that it can have an impact on their hearing, particularly on the children. Nowadays, these shops, you can buy these level limited headphones particularly for children, because we know there's 85 decibel. If it sounds more than 85 decibel into your ear for a long time, that it can cause damage.
Is there any industry guidelines to limit at 85 decibels for devices?
Yes, for CE marked headphones in Europe, there's an output limit set to default 85 dB, but lots of devices allow the users to be override that 85 dB. But then these devices should give you warnings. For example, we saw some warnings coming from your phone or coming from the app, tells you, oh, this is a red line, you are listening with loud volume.
Wow. And is it because, is it short-term loud listening is bad? Is it long-term kind of listening at 85 right at the limit is bad? What's worse?
Well, there's always a relationship, like a tank. The more you need, measure the whole capacity of they call dosage of the noise into your ear. So one factor is the loudness, the other factor is the duration. In total, obviously, the longer you hear, the louder you hear, the worse it is. So that means if you hear something sometimes loud, but then with very short time, but probably okay. With very, very short time, or you hear very, very low level, but as long as the duration is long, that still can cause damage.
Wow, okay. And things like music concerts, you have no control over that environment. Should people be going to music concerts with ear protection?
Oh, definitely. With lots of lots of companies already providing these tailor-made party-going headphones, and they particularly have certain limits. So the activation of these headphones only applies when the loud go to a certain level. And for example, there are shooting headphones to protect the ears. They're also they can made very tailored to your ear canal size and shape. For these situations.
It's crazy, isn't it? Certainly in the UK, we hear so much about health and safety, and you see people in their high-vis vests and wearing ear protection, using every tool known to man, and yet we're more and more exposed in our everyday lives to these incredibly loud sources of sound, and we don't think about it. And that, I suppose, is why we're seeing increased numbers in hearing loss.
Yes, so according to WHO, there are more than 1.1 billion young people are in danger, risk having hearing loss because of this recreational loud noise.
Yeah, and when you say recreational, I mean, you think of loud music, listening on headphones. I suppose if you were on a commuter train, for example, listening even to a podcast, you're going to bump up that volume, aren't you, to hear the voice clearly, and that's the same exposure. You're hitting high levels of audio over a prolonged period of time.
Yes, indeed. We were conducting a survey of how loud the noise in underground in London. Some of these sections is more than 85 dB, sometimes even 90 dB. Imagine if you're using these underground trains commuting every day, say half an hour, and in order to listen your content, either podcast or music, your volume just need to be louder than the background noise. That means you're listening above 85, above 90. So surely that can cause damage if you listen regularly.
Ping, is there anything people at home can do, just a practical bit of advice, to at least limit their exposure to this risk?
Yeah, so what we normally recommend is 6-6 rules. So you should be here listening less than 60 minutes per day, and also less than 60% of volume.
Wow, so there you have it. 60 minutes a day, 60% of the maximum volume of your device, right? So
Yep.
that might go some way to helping you out. Well, that's it for this episode of Listen Here. As always, comment, link, subscribe. We want you to be part of this conversation so we can put your questions to our resident expert, of course. That's it for this time. See you next time for Listen Here.